And so, doctor, let's just talk about this right now. Let's talk about COVID-19. Let's talk about this virus, and let's talk about what is it that you and your family went through. What happened, and when? How long has it been? I think about a month now.
Yeah, well, sometime in the late July, um, well, my wife came down with symptoms, and well, that was it. That's me. If she's coming down with symptoms, I'm not going anywhere. So we've been going through an epic battle from about the middle of July, and it sort of culminated with a crisis that um, when she developed double pneumonia by August, and events just spiraled into a madness, into a chaos that seemed like a movie. I felt like I was in a movie. I couldn't believe that my life had unraveled so quickly.
So she contracted COVID first.
Yeah, well, my youngest son came home with symptoms, and he had a little cough and cold. And before you knew it, my wife started developing some mild symptoms. But I tried to manage it at home because I'm a doctor. I think I know how to handle it. But all of my efforts were not successful. She eventually escalated to because it was the Delta, and there was nothing you could really do to stop Delta from escalating. It moved so quickly. By the
Did she
time
have
I
to?
realized,
Did she have to be hospitalized?
no, no, I would not. I set up hospice care in my own home. All right, I
Hmm.
wasn't going to be comfortable with her not being around me where I can intervene. I couldn't hand over that full responsibility to other people and have to disagree with them about my wife's life. So I set things up at home. I had oxygen, intravenous medication. I had doctors coming over. I had nursing care. There are certain people that can afford certain things, and unfortunately, that's the class distinction that who lives and who dies in this country. Some people can afford it, and some people can't. And fortunately, I was able to afford it, and
Hmm.
ultimately, that's what allowed me to save my life.
Now, your wife did send out a voice note, by the way. But we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
So, when did you contract it? And after your
Well,
son came home with symptoms, after she contracted it and obviously was hit very hard with it, then when did you contract it?
in retrospect, I realized I had it the same time that she had, but I was too busy focusing on her. I ignored my symptoms completely. I felt the fatigue, I felt the aches, I felt certain things that were going on in my chest. But I started developing symptoms shortly after, but I ignored myself because my wife was in a crisis. She was having a double pneumonia. She was having problems with breathing, and 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 if you can describe what she fell into was a pit. I dove in right after her, and there was no concern about quarantine. I wasn't going anywhere. So ultimately, I absorbed the full effect, the full viral load, and I took it on, and eventually I developed a double pneumonia as well. I didn't realize I had a double pneumonia until I was sure that my wife was safe. And then I realized I was dying. I
You
realized
realize what did you say
that I
just
was
now?
dying. I realized that my energy was being drawn out of my chest. It was pulling into something. I couldn't reach it, you know. Um, it's frightening to remember that, but you know, uh, there's certain bonds in your life. A wife. The you wouldn't feel your own pain as long as the person that you're in love with is in pain. And
Mm.
so I never realized I was in pain until I realized that she was okay. And then I noticed that, oh my God, what is this I'm feeling? And I probably was feeling like that for about 3 or 4 days and didn't even realize it. And before I knew it, I was being nursed as well with double pneumonia as well. And both of us had to go through the battle together.
And then, so who turned around and took care of the two of you? Both of you were down. You were the doctor. You were
Yeah,
administering help.
my son is a fifth year medical student, Travis. I guess everybody's seen his post. It's gone a little viral. He's very emphatic about the idea of people getting vaccinated because he had to practically save us. He was pretty damn good. He was pretty good. We had some other doctors come around. We had Dr. Juliet Hepburn and some others who set up a protocol and some experimental therapies that we um, um, got involved with that ultimately helped us to turn the tide. But there were it was a team effort. Okay, I had some doctors, two consultants, nursing, and hospice care, and eventually we were able to turn the tide. But why I was grateful to have had the experience in my own home. As a doctor, I was able to intervene into the management and nuance it. There were certain things that they would have probably done in the hospital that would have been like rubber stamped. You know what I mean? Like, this is the way you
Mm-hmm.
do it, and there's no go. I was able to tweak the management and make a couple of changes and adjustments that was able to, in my mind, turn the bend.
Now, first of all, I want you to really take us into how you, and I don't know how much of it you can remember because it sounds like you were very low for a few days,
Yeah.
but describe what you can remember of how you were impacted by this.
If I'm talking about my personal stuff, because you guys, you can see I'm only focused on my wife.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Okay, so the experience was more like you were attacked in your chest. That's where that's where the focus of the disease is, and it felt as if you were encased in a lead shielding that prevented you from reaching your life force. You couldn't touch your life. You could see your life force. You could sense it. That vibrating energy is my life, and there was a wall between me and it, and I couldn't reach it, and I couldn't get my breath to touch it, and I realized that's how people die. People die because they're cut off from their life force, which they call their breath. But I wasn't really feeling it as a cut off from breath. I felt this as a cut off from life. It was more than losing your breath. It was like losing your life. And it felt like a physical thing, okay? It felt like there was somebody had come behind you and opened a hole in your back and was sucking your energy out of your back. And you were in the front trying to get to it and you can't reach it because there's a wall. That's the only way I could describe it. It was like a theft. It was a robbery. It was a violation. It felt really, really horrendous. Okay.
I understand that I read that your family was impacted. Can you walk us through that, please, beyond
Okay.
your
So
wife? That, yeah.
my son-in-law, sometime during the third week, he lives in the back in the guest house in the back with my daughter, and he within 48 hours he's a diabetic. He was in his 50s. Within 48 hours, he went from being almost well to being in a crisis within 48 hours because his diabetes had accelerated the process. His sugar was out of control. And in the middle of the night, I'm watching, because I couldn't get out of my bed, I'm watching ambulance lights flashing in the back of my yard. I'm hearing him being taken into the ambulance. And then an hour later, I'm being told that he had died. And it was, that was a violation that I couldn't even comprehend because the day before he and I were out trying to get sun. We were, because the symptoms had just begun. We were out in the back basking in the sun so we're going to get some vitamin D. And we were in the back there together, The following day he was dead. So it was shocking. It was a reality that I have never comprehend. I can't comprehend that reality where a person could just have their life so casually taken away. This whole process that we're going through, this crisis, this madness, is something that has belittled the concept of what life is. A life is meaningless in the face of this thing that we're facing right now. Anybody can just be well and within 2 days be dead, and this is
Jeez.
basically what we're hearing. And so I'm grateful because of the fact that I knew that I didn't have to survive. My wife didn't have to survive. I've got examples of people around me, my patients, my friends who died, couples, husbands and wives who died. And so, I'm not dismissing the blessing that I have here, and it's changed me. I don't know how I could ever be the same person again. I look at you guys, people who haven't been impacted by it personally, and I see you guys seem to be living in a different planet, one that I've left. I think COVID puts you in a different frequency
Wow.
from its experience, and it leaves you with a type of uh, leaves you with a sense of belonging to a different space where you've started a new cycle, and the people that haven't been impacted it are still in the old cycle, and they're still in the old world. They're still debating whether a vaccine is necessary or not.
Well,
They still,
I'm going to let you talk
yeah,
about that because
yeah,
I want to talk about before we even get there,
yeah.
Doc. And I thank you for being so frank. And our hearts and our prayers and thoughts go out to you and your family. By the way, how's your daughter? How is she doing? And did they
Oh
have kids?
no, she didn't have kids. So they had kids. He had a son. She had a daughter. They married late, but they've been together for 20 years. So it wasn't a small loss. You know, he was what 56. She's like 45, 44. And so they've been together for 20 years. So she's obviously devastated. Her partner in life for 20 years is gone. And but she's managing well because we have a very powerful nuclear family here. You know, we're not individuals; we're a collective in this family.
Before I read, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that before your family was impacted, you had a whole different view of COVID, of how you're going to respond to it, of you being the doctor, how you're going to respond, you and your family are going to respond and deal with it.
I
Please
was an
walk us through
academic.
that.
I was an academic. I don't believe anything unless I research it. You know, including religion, spirituality, politics. You know, I'm a reader. I'm a studier. I go over all of the information and whether you want to call it conspiracy theory, which is a convenient division line to discount points of view that might not agree with your own. You know, I went through all the conspiracies and I analyzed it and judged it for myself. And I found some of the information was valid, you know. And so based on that information, I had some hesitancy. And I wasn't against the vaccine because I know it was necessary. I was just waiting for the right one. I was
Hmm.
exploring the one in Cuba. I was checking out the Novavax, waiting for that to become available because it doesn't use some of the technologies that some of the more controversial vaccines are using. And I was just waiting, but I got caught waiting. And that's the lesson that I learned. You know,
Wow.
when it comes to life and death, you cannot play a waiting game. Okay, and that's the difference. If it was something that had less of a consequence, then sure you can afford to wait. But I sat and I watched people die around me, and I thought I had an opportunity to wait. I was also taking the prophylactic measures. I was using hydroxychloroquine and weekly.
Oh, you
Yeah,
were?
for a year, over a year. From March of last year, I've been taking hydroxychloroquine once a week to prevent me from getting the virus, and it was working. I had all my staff, I had all my family, all of us were taking prophylactic hydroxychloroquine, by the way, and we still got the damn Delta. All right, so in spite of my efforts to protect us, all right, me using the science that I understood, understanding how the tablet works, and even sometimes using ivermectin whenever I thought I came into contact with a positive case. I would I would intervene with a ivermectin, a dose of ivermectin, a stat dose to erase the possibility of an infection. And the science is sound. Don't mind everybody talking about double-blind studies and the rest of that stuff. There are some reputable studies that shows that ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine are effective in mitigating and sometimes preventing the disease. Problem was is that Delta is a different virus. I don't even want to call it a variant. Delta is almost like a new COVID. Okay, it's not just a variant. This has a different modus operandi. It has a different impact. It's more violent. It crashes through the prophylaxis and all of the measures that I had put in place that had worked for 15 months. All right. And it ravaged everything that I thought I understood about the virus. And it introduced me to a new level of hell. Okay. And then I realized that people they think this is the same conversation we were having 3 months ago. This is not the same conversation we were having 3 months ago. The conversation we were having 3 months ago was about the regular COVID. This Delta is not the regular. This is a mutation that is so bizarre. It has no boundaries that can hold it back. There are no firewalls that can stop it from crashing into you and stealing your life in 48 hours. Okay? So the conversation about whether to have a vaccine or not was relevant 3 months ago. It's irrelevant now. Okay? Because it will come and it will steal your relative, it will steal your mother, and then now it's stealing your children and young people. Okay? So you have no choice but to either isolate and have no contact with society or vaccinate. Because one thing we're not saying, the vaccine is not going to prevent the disease. They need to stop telling people that. The vaccine is going to mitigate the disease. It's going to prevent you from going in hospital. My son, my oldest son, the medical student, he had his 2 vaccines. So his symptoms were mild. And so he was able to take care of us even while he was symptomatic. And he eventually recovered without any problems. Okay. So that's the main thing I need people to understand, that if this were the same virus that we were fighting a year ago, then sure, hesitate, you know, have a debate, consider your options and do what you have to do. But in the midst of something that's ravaging this country right now, going through from home to home like the plague in the Old Testament, and stealing a relative out of every home, more than one sometimes, all right? But something that has not even begun to fall off, but is still escalating because it has more families to touch. For me getting phone calls all day, even while I was sick, by people that were dying and becoming infected, and me trying to phone in medications to try and help people even while I was struggling for my own life. It's insane. I'm never going to forget this experience. I'm not going to forget what's happening. I dread what's coming because I don't think that we're at the end of it. I don't even think we're in the middle of it. I think we're just at the beginning.
I want you all to please share this live stream. Tag everybody you know. I don't care if they are at the other end of the world. Tag them. Share this live stream. This is a medical doctor, you guys. A medical doctor. This isn't. Did you practice medicine where you intertwined traditional and natural medicine?
That's who I am. That's why I'm a musical artist because I'm first of all, I'm a metaphysician. That's somebody who pursues consciousness. All right. Through knowledge, through meditation, and the practice of certain um, uh, mental and psychological and emotional um, approaches to life that balances, your well-being with your physicality and basically your whole life. It's a holistic type of lifestyle that I live, and I
Mm-hmm.
also implement it in my practice. Of course, I teach the value of healthy relationships, healthy diet, and a reverence for God and nature. All right. So that's my foundation. That's who I am. And medicine is built on top of that. I always approach people first by introducing them to my first name, Butch. None of my patients call me Dr. Bartlett. I refuse to have a relationship with anybody who calls me sir or Dr. Bartlett because you're talking to what I am and not who I am. So the first thing that happens to every single patient in my practice is they have to be introduced to Butch. And I teach them how to drop the yes, sir, and replace it with yeah, boy. Say it, yeah, boy.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, boy. That's me.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
the
boy.
relationship I have with my patients, okay? All of my patients are my friends, they're my family, and I've been doing
I
that for
got that. I got that
mm,
because people said to me, "Man, Butch," and I'm like,
mhm.
"What, Butch?"
No,
In
all my
fact, and I
patients.
thought, and because the people came from outside of us, so I thought you were from Freeport and lived in
Yeah,
Freeport, and I'm like,
no,
they say, "No, Butch, Butch," and they
no.
talk about people love you. I'll tell you that you are
Because
well known and you are loved.
absolutely, because I love them first. The basis of how I practice medicine is I offer my full love first, and then let you decide how you want to break it down. I offer love up front, and this I'm not trying to promote myself. This is not what I'm just. It's just something that I am. This is what I do. So I introduce them as Butch, and I give them all, and then if they're comfortable, they can receive it, and if they're not, then they can always break it down to a platform that's comfortable with them. And this is what I've been doing for over 30 years. It's a
Now,
family practice.
yeah,
Yeah.
what do you say, sir,
Mhm.
as a family physician, family practice, etc., just touching lives all over this country?
Mhm.
People know you all over the country. There appears to be this divide of people still. We know that the Pfizer was just given the FDA's approval. That's widely available in the country. And this goes for people in the United States and Turks and Caicos. I know we have people watching from a number of other places as well. And a
Mhm.
lot of people, not just in the Bahamas, Jamaica, have the view that I can wait. No, I sure. So in the Bahamas presently, we have the AstraZeneca, we have the Pfizer, we have the Johnson and Johnson, but
Yeah.
people are saying, listen, no, I that ain't for me. That's not,
Listen,
etc. How do you respond to that?
listen. If you didn't have a thief in your yard, if you didn't have an assassin in one of the rooms in your house and you don't know where it is, if you didn't already have a threat to your life, then you can sit back and have that philosophical and that debate. Okay, it was good for a year for us to have that debate. It was beautiful. We had the pros and the cons, and we had the anti-vaxxers and the hesitants, the hesitants, and the pros, and it was getting to a point where society was being divided, and it was getting a little contentious. Okay, but still, it was still acceptable. You know, you could decide, you have free will, and your rights to choose is something that's absolutely, you know, sovereign. You have to have that. But the problem is right now is that we're not in normal times. We do not have uh, an opportunity to choose at this moment, because this virus has the ability to break through all the walls, through all of the barriers, and come and get you. Okay, I'm getting phone calls every day from 3 and 4 families per day, and I know I'm not the only doctor doing this. And it's impossible to do back tracing. It's impossible to do tracing. You cannot trace something. You can't trace water. When water floods the country, you can't go to every home and try to trace where the water came from. It's everywhere. That's what this virus is right now. Okay. Based on that and the fact that it has a selective process where it's going to choose your relative, one or two. If you want to be the one who decides for your family to not take it because you feel reluctant, and then your family member dies, that's something that you have to live with. And that's what killed me. While my wife is dying, I realized that she was there because the vaccine, she never took the vaccine because of me.
Oh,
I,
so would you say that you influenced them early on,
of
like, hey,
course,
family, this what we
I'm,
can do?
I'm the patriarch of the family. I'm me, you know, I'm the head of my family, you know. So I don't tell them what to do, but they're influenced by me. Their beliefs and what they have faith in is influenced because they have faith in me. So I'm not dominating, I'm just influencing, okay? You can influence other people to their detriment, but you must be responsible for it. So if you influence somebody to not take the vaccine and they go ahead and they die, all right? Like my son-in-law died, okay, in the back there. I am not certain that he would not have taken the vaccine if I had not taken it. I don't know if he would have taken it had I taken it. I don't know if he would have been alive if he didn't hear me have views that were controversial, all right? I would never know. But the bottom line is that people now have a decision to make whether or not they want to promote a message that can put other people in harm's way, that can hurt other people, and if they're willing to live with those consequences, realizing that they're the ones who put that person in that position. That's where this is right now. As far as the vaccines, whether the choices, the types, they're still controversial. The stuff that makes you afraid of them is still out there. But we have to sort of measure. It's a risk-benefit type of situation. The risk of taking the vaccine and all of the possible side effects, the risk of not taking the vaccine and the possibility of getting the virus that has a 50-50 chance of killing you, risk benefit. The benefit of taking the vaccine, even with its pros and cons, far outweighs the risk of contracting a virus that can take your life in 48 hours.
My
It's as
God,
simple as
listen, this is Dr. And I know you said uncle, but just for official reasons, this is
yeah,
Dr. Yahweh. This
yeah,
is Dr. Tyrone Butch Bartlett. He
yeah.
is a local medical physician here, but
Mm-hmm.
he also is widely known just to touch people's lives and be the friendly doctor. He's
Yeah.
talking though about how he and his family, not just him, he and his family experienced COVID-19 and the
Mm-hmm.
fight, including himself, the fight to live and get beyond that. And also the fact that he lost his son-in-law. He lost his son-in-law. His daughter lost her husband. And he's talking about the vaccines. I'll tell you this, Doc. I saw a comment from Turks and Caicos, I think it was. And the question was, which vaccine would you recommend?
Like, that's not important. Okay, because you're gonna find positives and negatives for all of them. Okay, and I do not want to diminish my message by saying, you know, the kind of side effects that have been reported on either, because the list is endless and everybody can do their own research. That's 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 the danger. Okay, but I can tell you from my sample size of patients that I've had who've had the vaccine. I've had hundreds of patients come to me over the last several months since the vaccine has been distributed. And I had not a single patient tell me that they had any long-term ill effects from it. Sure, there were people that had, my son-in-law, you know, he was sick for like 3, 4 days, but eventually he recovered from the AstraZeneca. You know, he felt like he had to lie down for a long time. But I have not seen any of the strokes of the. Now I've had other doctors see them because I'm a part of a medical chat group and we share. So I've seen the one or two examples of deleterious effects from the vaccines, And I know for a fact that they are out there. I'm not diminishing that. I'm just talking about my sample size, my patients. I haven't encountered it in my practice, okay? So I've hundreds of my patients were vaccinated. They're all walking around and they're looking at me and saying, Doc, how could you be stupid? You almost died. I'm okay. I'm looking at all of my friends who I consider to be ultra conservative. You could tell them anything and they believe it, and they just went and took the vaccine. And while I might have smirked behind their backs and said, boy, you don't know what you did. I felt like an idiot while I was dying and my wife was dying, and I looked at them and I felt envious. I said, I should have been more of an idiot. I should have been more of a conservative minded set who just believes the narrative that the media puts out there. I should have been more simple, like my friends who took the vaccine, and just my wife may not have died, and maybe my son-in-law as well. Because I'm not fully recovered. I'm still suffering from fatigue. I haven't been to work in 5 weeks.
Yeah, I know. I know you have plans to return to work
yeah,
tomorrow.
I've been trying to get to work from Monday. Every day I think I want to go to work. But when I start moving around, I realize that I don't have my strength and I can't take on 30 patients right now. All right. And there's still reminders in my chest that I had a war in there, And so I'm forced to lie down 3 and 4 times a day and gather myself. And I'm waiting for my energy to return. So, it's still a battle, but it's not the battle. It is the remnants of a reminder of something that has got me speaking to you today.
Wow, Dr. Bartlett, I hate to say thank you, but you did a service for everybody. Again, tag as many people as possible. Share this to as many places as possible. This is a doctor.
I'm gonna let you do that. I'm not a tech guy.
Yeah, no, I'm speaking. No, I trust me. I know you're not a tech guy. Believe me. We had a battle even just getting this on. Let me choose a different word. We just had to get this on. So no, not you. I mean the audience. The audience. In fact, and if you all have questions, for the doctor and Terry Ferguson says she's praying for your strength.
Yes.
The full return of your strength.
By the way, listen to me. I'm coming back now. Okay. There's no end. I'm a metaphysician. Remember I told you about consciousness?
Yes.
I absolutely believe in my ability to have authority over my own body and over my own life. As a matter of fact, I believe that's the reason why my wife and I survived, because when I pray, I don't pray. I pray deep. Okay. I mean, I go in to spirit, and the war that my wife and I, even from a metaphorical level, the types of dreams we had, the things we saw in our dreams, and the way this virus appeared to us in visions during the fight, it was such a spiritual thing that I'm not even. It's why I've gone to another level of reality now. I've said, when I say that you are in an old bubble and I'm in a new bubble, people post-COVID, there's a layer of life that we can feel, one that comes and steals your life, that you can still feel after you've recovered. It's like a near-death experience. People who come back from near-death experiences have the ability to tap into spiritual levels of consciousness, and have certain senses. And this is what it feels like when you come from COVID. You come with a sensation of being more aware of things that probably was all around you, but now they're there. There are things that are out there that can hurt you. And so when you are being pulled under and you go into your dreams and you see your dreams manifest as nightmares, and you see what those nightmares look like, that's a memory that you can't get rid of as well.
Oh, Doc, I tell you, I say in any interview, Doc, and I'm happy that you were sharing your story here first. I didn't bargain even for all of this, but here are some questions, Doc. Rayette Spence wants to know, how important is healthy eating with the vaccine?
Hey, all that is important. Healthy eating. Listen, I used to run 10 laps every day. All right. I don't eat red meat for over 20 years. Okay. I drink a lot of water. I'm on vitamins and supplements, and yet I still end up with a double pneumonia. So healthy living doesn't prevent you from being killed by Delta. Let's just understand that. It just gives you a better chance of survival. That's it. Okay. And being double vaccinated with a healthy diet, you still have to protect yourself from Delta. Delta is still going to touch you. And not so much the fact that you're not going to contract the virus, because, we know the vaccinated can carry the virus in their nasal passages and they can spread it. The bottom line is that the fact that you, as a vaccinated person, can go and give it to somebody that's unvaccinated means that more important than diet, more important than healthy lifestyles, you still have to take precautions, mask, social distancing, you know, sensible social gathering, and be responsible for your neighbor, be responsible for your people, all right? And, you know, it sounds cliche now. It sounds so like, you know, be a good boy and you go to heaven. No, no. The reality is if you don't do these little simple measures, we're going to continue to lose this battle. We've already lost this battle, you know. This battle, the battle to stop it has been lost, okay? There's going to be a harvest, and it's we're in the middle of a harvest, okay? But what we can do is we could try to pull back a little of the momentum that it has by trying to implement these practices by vaccination, healthy style, lifestyle, diet, exercise, and measures that includes masks, social distancing, and responsible social gatherings. And we could start to sort of slow down this momentum until we could get to some sort of herd immunity. Herd immunity is another conversation we could have, but I don't want to go into that right now because you really can't have herd immunity for a virus that continues to mutate. But what we can do is we can get to vaccination immunity, where we have enough people vaccinated so that we don't have serious illnesses. We just have the illnesses, the virus manifesting as a mild form of disease, and enough people are vaccinated so nobody really gets ill. And it comes down to the level where it just becomes an endemic cough and a cold and a flu, like everything else is, and we don't have to have this devastation.
Carlo Taylor says, Doc, get this. I believe in you. Let me see if I can get Doc. By the way, how long do you have to wait until you and your family can become vaccinated? I know your son already is, but you.
Yeah. First of all, I want everybody to know I'm PCR negative. There's no virus left in my body. My wife and I have tested negative 2 weeks ago. All right. We're just suffering from the lingering effects of the physical damage that it did to our bodies. As far as vaccination is concerned, people are trying to get us to do it as early as 6 weeks. I'm opting more towards the thing of 2 to 3 months. I'm gonna because I want my body to recover. I cannot bear the thought of anything pulling me down. If I have a vaccine reaction right now, after having lost all of my health, I'd freak out. I don't want to feel ill right now. I want to have at least a month, two, of feeling completely normal before I even think about having a vaccine. Like I say, there's a type of PTSD that you have from having COVID when you've had a double pneumonia, you nearly died. And the last thing you want to be thinking about is voluntarily making yourself feel ill. So I'm not telling anybody else to do what I'm doing. I'm going to give myself about 2 months after I feel normal, and I don't feel normal yet. And after 2 months, me and my wife are going to get vaccinated. We're going to depend on the immunity that we've developed from the disease to cover us for the next 2 to 3 months.
By the way, answer this. People say that some who have had it say that they are now immune to it.
No. See, you're immune to the variant that you had. You're not immune to the new variant that's coming at you. I'm not going to sit down and think that I will never get COVID again because Lambda is out there. Delta Plus is out there. There are new strains that are coming on stream right now as the virus mutates, and we're not in control of that. So you can just like, that's why we never could stop the flu. It mutates, okay? So I'm confident that I can probably, and I'm not confident about anything but with total assurance because, I nearly died. But, what do I know at the end of the day? I nearly died. So, but I'm confident enough to know that the Delta is not going to get me for at least 2 months. And what I'm going to do in the meanwhile is just take my precautions and wait for the opportune time to do the vaccine.
And let me see. Patricia and Claire says, I know Doc for a long time. He is really a good doctor and very knowledgeable. That's one of your friends and one of your patients. But yeah, Patricia and Claire. I tell you, many people are watching. Many people are watching you. Many people love you. This is around the Bahamas. There are many watching outside the Bahamas as well. Danielle Gibson, and this is in Eleuthera, says the virus affects people differently, though.
Obviously, I mean, my son only had a cough. The other one had a cough, but he was bringing up blood. That was a little freaky. The youngest one, but it lasted for like a week, and he was negative in no time because he's 24, 23 years old. Most people are going to have just headaches. Most people are just going to have the Delta variant tends to give you more headaches, diarrhea, nausea, body aches. All right. And some people, that's the mild version of Delta. Other people with Delta, it goes after your lungs quickly. Within 48 hours, you go from just a mild cough to you can't breathe. So the Delta has a wide range of presentations and symptoms. And, I've had patients who contracted the virus and had a mild version of it for 1 week, and in the second week they developed shortness of breath. They didn't see it coming. All right, it isn't an incremental increase in symptoms. You feel good for 4 days, and then on the fifth day suddenly you can't breathe, like my son-in-law. All right, the day before we were out sunning in the back, trying to get sun to try to drive the virus out of our body. 24 hours, he was dead in the back of an ambulance in the back of my yard. All right, so this is the reality that we're faced with right here. This is not the same stuff we were fighting 3, 6, 10 months ago. We are at a state of war. All right, and conversation and hesitancy is the wrong position. I don't know. I've got a lot of patients that come to me. A lot of people come to me and say, "Doc, I appreciate your experience, but I reserve the right to have a choice and everything." I'm not talking to those persons. I'm not talking to people whose minds are made up. I'm talking about people who don't really understand what's going on. I'm talking about people that are on the fence and people that I might be able to save by making sure that they emphatically hear what I have to say about this, and not based on what I think, but what I know, what I absolutely know. I've got death in my family. I've got personal experience. I watched my wife nearly die. And if she had died, did I tell you about the pit that I fell in, that I dove in after her? I wasn't going to even hang around. I was going to let it take me. If my wife had died, I could have stayed here. All right? So I fought for her life and my life at the same time. It's as simple as that.
Percy Wallace says, a brilliant synopsis of your experience, Doc. Thank you for sharing. Christina, absolutely gorgeous, says, do you think people should be working from home?
No. Listen to me. Here's the thing. I understand why the government can't lock down the country, even though we've got conditions that are 10 times worse than the conditions in previous times that merited a lockdown. We had a certain capital that we were allowed to do lockdowns with, get a certain amount of loans, carry the economy, so forth, so on, okay? If you have a hurricane and you've run out of food and it's storming outside, you can't stay inside and starve. You have to go outside in that storm and find food. That's where we are right now. What we had last year when we were doing lockdowns, we had a reserve of food in the house during the hurricane. What we are right now is we've run out of food and the hurricane is still going on. We have to go out. We cannot stop the movement of normal life. We have to keep the economy going because that's the only way this country is going to survive. We've already exhausted all our loans. I believe in what the government is doing. I'm not political. I'm not there doing that. But I absolutely have confidence in these measured steps that they're taking because I understand why they're doing it. And I understand why there's a certain amount of loss that they have to accept because we can't allow the country to collapse economically, financially, structurally. It must go on. So no, people have to go to work, take your measures, get your vaccine. People that shouldn't go to work are the ones that are not vaccinated. Now, I would never have said that a month ago. But the ones that are not vaccinated are proven to be the ones that are dying in hospital. It's not a poll that we have to debate upon. The vast majority of people that are dying in hospital are the unvaccinated. So the ones that are unvaccinated are the ones that perhaps should consider staying home.
Wow. Platty Dread said, Doc, you are my brother. My family and I are grateful for your love and your care.
Thank you very much.
Blair Percentis, y'all Miss Glenroy and then fight him still. Gibson OD says, I prayed for you and your family once your sister and your wife colleague told me that you were ill. Gibson says he prayed for you when he heard about
one of the things one thing that I always want people to send me is prayer. Okay? One thing that I receive is prayer. Okay? I know the value of prayer and I know the value of somebody's energy mingling with your energy. And I absolutely open my heart to all the prayers that are out there. And I absolutely know that I received it and I know that it had a big part to play in my survival. So I appreciate it and I thank each and every one of you.
Rush Anthony Bevan says, my God, Doc, chilling to hear you say if your wife would have died and what you would have done. Love you, brother. And I thank God that he was faithful to you and your family.
Yeah,
Florina Bain says, Doc, you are a true man of God. May God bless you and your family. Utah Controversy, Taylor Roll. Hello to you, Utah. Utah says, Doc, my family and I are ever thankful to you.
Yeah,
And we will never forget how you made us family.
yeah.
And blessings to you.
That's my brother.
Blessings.
That's my
You,
brother.
yeah,
Yeah,
Utah. Yeah,
be like that.
yeah. Doc, give a final, and you got people watching from in the Bahamas and out the Bahamas. Speak to those people, particularly those who, like I said, and you have heard many of them, perhaps less now, but people saying, oh, I gotta, I have to think about it, pray about it, I have to do all this stuff.
Yeah. Uh, Look, you have to assume that the virus is coming to get you. You can't assume that it's not coming to get you, okay? Even if you're vaccinated, you have to assume that the virus is coming to get you. The Delta is coming, all right? There are no barriers, firewalls that can prevent it from coming into your home and touching you, okay? So based on that presumption, you should try to find measures to prevent yourself from paying the ultimate price. You should find ways to protect your family. You should find ways to prepare your family for your loss if you lose the battle. Because the thing that frightened me was when I was dying and my wife was dying, I was wondering how my kids were going to find the land. Because do they know what we own? Oh man, it's so ridiculous. I'm just telling you that right now, if you're going to have a position where you think choice matters and your rights are sovereign, then prepare your business. Get your will in order. Get your papers so when your children can find it so they can know what to do when you pass. Get everything, fix everything up so that you can make sure that things are in place. Because this is what I was faced with when I was dying. Okay? I had nothing in place. Everything was a mess. And then, after you got everything, because you prepared for the worst possible outcome, then expect the best possible thing. I mean, your faith gives you the right to believe that only the good thing will happen to you. But your
Faith.
confidence and the reality to be in, it demands that you pay attention to the possibility that you may die. And what are you going to do to help yourself? And this is my message right now. I want people to understand what it feels like to be in the position where I was, where just previously I was arrogant with I was so confident that I had knowledge, science behind. I knew how to manipulate the medications. I knew how to cure it. I knew how to prevent it. I was very arrogant and I was humbled. So based on my experience, I only have one message. Do everything, take advantage of every measure you can to protect yourself and your family, including vaccination. Worry about the details of what the vaccine can do for you later. Live now. We'll figure out the vaccine later. If there's things that the dark conspiracies did to the vaccine, we'll figure it out later. But right now, do not die now. The Delta variants that are coming, the Delta Plus, the Lambdas and stuff, we don't have to believe that this is the worst version of the virus. We have to imagine, because it hasn't given us any mercy yet, that even a worse variant is coming. And if this one can just sweep into your household and steal people, try to imagine for a second one that's even worse than this. And what is there to prevent it from happening? Nothing. Nothing. And what are you doing to prepare your family? And is your position preventing somebody else from protecting themselves? And are you being responsible when you advertise your personal choice and influence people to put their own lives in danger? That's something you have to think about.
Doc, I know I said wrap up comment, but people have questions, and I figure
Go ahead.
maybe it bears. Okay.
Listen, I'm home. I got nothing to do.
Okay. Dwayne Roll wants to know, he said, you may have addressed it already, but he is just joining. What, if any, treatments led to your recovery? What have you been doing to fully recover?
I had to depend on medicine. I had to depend on one of the things that kills you with the virus is that even though it's a viral pneumonia, you develop a bacterial pneumonia right afterwards. And if you're not on the right antibiotic, even though the virus may have spared you, the bacterial pneumonia that follows the viral pneumonia is what finishes you off. So if you're not on the right antibiotic, you lose, okay? This is why antibiotics are so important. And the problem is that a lot of doctors would just prescribe one, but would not switch it if they find it is not working. The patient just gets worse. It's acceptable loss. So yes, medicine is important. Traditional medicine is important. Being in touch with a doctor and explaining your symptoms as you go along so that he can make variations and changes and nuances to the treatment. That's extremely important. And believe me right now, every single doctor on this island knows how to treat COVID. Everybody. So you have to stay in touch with your doctor. My patients, even though I've been home for basically 5 weeks, I've been running a telemedicine practice for the full 5 weeks, even while I was in bed. I couldn't not answer the phone. You know what I mean? And so, I think I saved many lives even while I was struggling to save my own.
Uh, f- um, uh, Doc, give me a minute. You are so loaded. I think,
Uh,
when you just don't know what to say. I want to
yeah.
just maybe, who is this? Sharon Yvonne says, "Hi, Doc. Blessings to you and your
Mm-hmm.
family. This is Aunt Dorothy's niece. Prayers to the family."
Okay.
Portia Newton, who is in Florida, who is fully vaccinated, but is a
Mm-hmm.
teacher. And to get this, Doc, and we ain't trying to discuss no other country's position about nothing,
Mm-hmm.
but the U.S. and the various states about whether you wear a mask or don't. Well,
Yes.
she just returned to school,
Mm-hmm.
schools open in the state of Florida. She was already vexed about going and because there's no mask there, like it's not
Mm-hmm.
a mandatory thing. Well, she contracted it from a student. So
Yeah.
she is at home, but she's fully vaccinated and sounds like she's doing well, but just obviously trying to get well. So she says, "Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Mm-hmm.
This is really needed and needs to be heard by many more people."
Yes.
She says, "Thank God." Tanya Thompson says, "Thank God you and your family are doing much better."
Mm-hmm.
Cheryl Gardner Bastian says, "He's always been honest and upfront. You, as a person, get vaccinated, people." This is
Yes.
what she is saying. Kareem Ramming, "Thanks, Doc, for your testimony. It will encourage
Mm-hmm.
others to take the vaccine. Either you take the vaccine, or think about the possibility of something else."
Mm-hmm.
Terry says steaming is important as well, eh? Terry says she's fully vaccinated and she also, as a part of her protocol, does steaming.
I understand the effect of steaming on the viral load and the nasal passages. I just had a patient whose skin peeled off her face because she was over aggressive. I have photographs that's so horrific of patients so afraid of the virus that they don't steam, they cook their faces. I've had second degree and first degree burns from people being overly aggressive trying to kill the vaccine. And just be careful with steaming. That's all I want to say. Make sure you're not
Yeah,
steaming
do it.
while the fire is on. Okay, that's what I mean. All right.
Yeah, yeah. Like how are you steaming? I mean, if it's anything, maybe get a hot towel and but
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
put the hot towel on your face.
It's listen, all of the herbal and the I call it the ancillary types of treatments. I'm not against them. All right, steaming and the whole thing with natural products, etc., etc. But I'm a doctor. I believe in medicine, and I believe in following things in a way that I can actually impact. So I don't have a problem with steam, and people need some measures where they can feel comfortable, like they're doing something to help themselves. I never steamed. But I'm not just kind of telling anybody that they shouldn't do it as well.
Portia says, "Butch, I took the mono." You,
Mm-hmm.
you know what word I'm trying to pronounce? Okay. This is Portia, who's fully vaccinated in
Mm-hmm.
Florida. Antibiotic treatment yesterday, which consisted of 4 needles, and it helps
Mm-hmm.
speed up the recovery of the virus. This is what
Yeah,
I guess the doctors there.
yeah, but those not the common man can't get that. They can't
No.
get remdesivir, they can't get monoclonal antibody treatment, they can't get all that stuff. That stuff isn't available to the average person. Fortunate for those who can get it.
Juanita Juanita Dean says, "You put people first and you are one in a million. The Bahamas should be proud of you. Just sharing your life story about this virus."
Yes.
I thank all of you so much. Princess, forgive me for your last name, Princess, says steaming is good for shortness of breath. You
Okay.
must have a bearable steam, not
Yeah.
one that's overly hot. That's what doctor said, because
Yeah.
doc said people are burning themselves.
I got some ugly pictures.
Oh my gosh. Philippa Newton says, "I pray that your experience
Hey,
helps others."
how you doing, boo boo?
Help, yes, help others to become vaccinated. And listen, I thank all of you so much. Let me see this other comment. Lily Campbell says, "God has been good to you and your family. What a
Yes.
blessing." Happy to know that you and your family are well. Thanks for sharing your journey and your wellness. Your cousin watching from Freeport. That's your cousin
Thank
in
you very
Grand
much.
Bahama.
All the love.
Yes, absolutely. I thank you all very much. Kay Burns says, I hope everyone understands that Doc is coming from both sides of the debate. There's no better person to be the face of a vaccine program than you.
Yeah.
Um, um, um,
Kevin
um,
is
um,
my
sh-
brother. Hey, Ken,
Kay
what's
Burns
going
is,
on, bro? How you doing? That's my big boy. That's my big brother.
yeah.
We be good.
No, okay, okay. Kizzy Aisha Newton says, Butch deserves, pardon me, Butch serves from a place of love. Doc, you know what? I thank you. Let's see. Lily Campbell says, hubby and I are fully vaccinated. Always my doctor, you. Thanks for
Mhm.
sharing your intelligence. Puzzle Man says, Doc, you've been through the dark night of the soul and back. God is good. God is good.
That's my
God
next
is
brother.
good.
So
Oh, that's
three of
your
my
brother.
brothers. You got Puzzle, you got Utah, you got K Burn. I just want everybody to know that's part of my posse, okay? Yeah, but
Yes, yes, yeah, boy. Rayette Spence in Grand Mama says you need to be on every media stream, and you do. You really absolutely need to.
Mm.
Louise Smith says, I just inhale a bowl of hot water, not close to my face, not too hot. Say not close to her face and not too hot. Be
Okay,
careful.
cool.
The steam is also hot too, so gauge that.
You don't kill
Um,
yourself with the virus, you know what I mean? Gee. Anyway.
Listen, I thank you, Linda Forbes. He is truly a man of God. My faith is what kept me alive.
Thank you.
Ah, boy, I tell you. Let's
Mhm.
see. This is Charlize Bevins. Doc, I have a family member that's just tested positive and is only experiencing stuffy nose. Will this get worse? She and the cousin is at home. Um,
See?
what can she do
Okay,
now?
here's how it works. Here's what I've been doing. Anyway, so a person in the early stages, when they're in the acute phase of their infection, you want to intervene with ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine. Even though that's not government sanctioned, it's anecdotally and universally accepted as being measures that we can resort to because it has a good chance of impacting the virus. There's going to be many academics and many doctors who are going to scream foul and say that we don't have double-blind studies to prove that they work, and so therefore we should do nothing rather than try something. And this is where the argument falls. You offer something even if it fails, but you just cannot offer nothing because it hasn't been validated by some sort of governing authority. Okay, so yes, the stage where she's at right now is where I would normally prescribe ivermectin for a short course, 2 to 3 days, to try and limit the growth and the expansion of the virus. And it usually works once you get it within the first 7 days. Of course, it probably means that a lot of patients are going to be screaming at their doctors to write the prescription. And not every doctor is going to be willing to write the prescription. That's the problem. All right. Because a lot of I would not say a lot, there are some doctors, my colleagues, that are hard line when it comes to what they consider to be acceptable and not acceptable. And sometimes you may run into a doctor who's hard line against, they would send you home with vitamins, but they wouldn't send you home with ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine because it's almost like a religious position. You know, you have to hold your fort. We can't let the walls of academia crumble under all of this crap that people are talking. It's a sad state of affairs where people can be helped but not allowed to be helped because the narrative has to be one where we discount medications that have been anecdotally proven to have some success. That's the position we're in. That's the struggle. That's why I'm an outlier. I've always been an outlier. Never really walked the traditional path. I wouldn't have my patients call me Dr. Bartlett, because I don't want them to believe that I'm not approachable, accessible, and that I'm not willing to think individually about their issues and bring about things or discuss things that might be, you know, controversial. All right. So that's my approach to practice. That's my approach to life, actually. Okay. So for Charlize, she's in the early stages of an acute infection. Uh, she knows how to get in touch with me.
Charlize, well, Doc, so you know exactly how to get in touch with him, so
Mhm.
do just that.
Yeah.
Arlene Poitier says, continue to get well, Butch. You are simply the best.
Yeah.
Simply the best. Ken Johnson says, massive salute to you,
Bless,
King.
bless,
Um,
respect.
y- yeah. let's see if I can Shanique, you are a great platformer. So listen, I'm just happy that I can let him speak. That, you know what I mean? Thank you, Lily Campbell. I'm just happy I can let him speak. I have nothing to say. Truly, I don't. That's why I'm getting many of your comments in, you know. And Steffel McKinsey, I hope Steffi McKinsey. I know when Doc gets back to work, it's going to be it'll be a great day. Well, he's trying to do that tomorrow, but you know,
Mhm.
he'll see. He'll
Yeah.
see.
Every
Philippa
day,
says, every day you have to put
every
it
day is a
back.
new chapter.
Yeah.
Every day I discover something new about this thing. I discover one day you think you have energy and you're all over the place, and the next day you're in bed. But the gaps are growing. You know, it's like a wave. You know, like when you splash a rock into the pond, you get tall waves that are close together. And I've discovered with this disease that the longer time passes, the waves get smaller and the gaps in between gets longer, but you still get hit with a wave. So you'll be 3 days feeling well, and on the fourth day you feel a little wave. Then you'll be 6 days and you feel a little wave. Now I'm not sure exactly how it's unfolding. I'm learning. I'm learning that one day I can feel good, and the next day I don't feel too good. All right. But what I can confidently claim is that I feel progress incrementally and slowly, and it's driven by my will. It's driven by my desire to live. It's driven by my desire to return to normal, and that's the most important tool. Your spiritual energy, your conviction, your belief in your spiritual right to have life. Okay, and so this is what I am depending on. My union with God, my communion with God, is the source of what every energy, everything that I'm throwing at this. I'm not even dependent on me, man. Listen, everything that I'm using right now,
Oh God.
channel directly through my head into my heart, into the universe. That's how
Yeah.
it's completely. My imagination is active. My intention is there. Everything in my life is an execution of will at this moment. That's why I'm speaking to you right now. It's an execution of will to live. It never ends. Okay, and that's the position that you have to assume. Never assume a negative position. Doubt. Don't believe that you're going to die. Don't believe that this thing is powerful. Don't believe that it's a winner, that it has won. You have to literally take the position of victory, even while you're dying. Okay? I was only joking when I said if my wife had died, I was going to die. I just said that I don't think I could have held on if she had died. But I didn't allow her to die. Trust me, because where her little spirit was, I was in there with it, and I was pushing back as well. All right? But I digress. I just want everybody to understand that if you don't have a spiritual connection with however you choose to understand God, this battle is much more difficult without that. Okay, so I would urge everyone to find a spiritual anchor, however they choose to interpret God, however they choose to interpret their own energy, their own spiritual being. How choose find a way to erase negativity, find a way to not engage in foolish conversation. Just
No.
try to find anything that divides us, dismiss it. Let the fools in the corner talk about politics and division and war and foolishness. But you yourself, you owe yourself the 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 dignity of spiritual power. All right, you owe it. You have it. It's free. Claim it and take it from there.
Absolutely. Speak it. Speak it. Use your
Mm.
mouth to speak it and
Yeah.
create it.
Yes.
Giselle
Continue.
Bailey says, yes, sir. The yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Giselle, Giselle Bailey says the ivermectin works. Trust me,
Yes, of
says it
course it does.
works. It
Yeah,
works.
it hasn't
Um,
failed me yet. The
yes.
reason why the
Doc,
wife
Doc,
and I,
where? Yes, sir.
the reason why the wife and I, we had taken the ivermectin, right? This Delta, we didn't realize. I have to when I look back and I wonder, well, how could I not have stopped it when it was happening? All right. Well, the the wife confessed later after it already happened that she was falling down on the prophylaxis. All right, because we were doing it for over a year, and she had been missing some of the medication. So by the time I realized what was going on, and I questioned her, she said, "Yes, I missed it here, I missed it there," and then it was too late. And even though I was taking the ivermectin and everything, because I was breathing in her face and she was coughing right into my face, and I was not leaving her, the viral load was so intense that it overcame with ivermectin. Most people are not going to have my experience to be on ivermectin and still become infected because they're not going to stay in the face of somebody who's coughing in there. All right, like the way I was with my wife. right? Because where she goes, I go, like I explained. Um, the viral load was just so overwhelming that it just pushed through the medication. But under normal circumstances, ivermectin will work, and I encourage anybody who's in the early stages of the infection to contact their doctors and make sure they get it early. Got to get it within the first 7 days.
Doc, what I want to do, and thank you for reminding me about that, Rayette. Danielle, I am good. Also, talk to you right after. Where are you located, Doc? What's your, now listen, I don't know if you want, yeah, if you don't mind giving out your information.
All my patients have my cell phone number. I don't even have I don't have any privacy. My cell phone number is on my card. My patients, I'm on WhatsApp. I get WhatsApp messages from 10,000 of my patients every day. So I'm on Shirley Street behind what used to be Jimmy's Liquor Store through WhatsApp. Santi T-shirt Factory's corner, Shirley. I'm the second building on the right, on the left-hand side.
Is there an office number?
It's 393-1083. It's called Harmony Healthcare. Harmony Healthcare. Yes. Harmony Healthcare. I'm wondering. Okay. I can't come up the air. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Doc. Doc, for real this time. A final comment.
Mm-hmm. Really, you want me to final comment?
For real.
My final comment is that live Bahamas. Okay, let's survive this together. Okay. Let's be responsible. Let's do the right thing. Okay. All right. Don't discourage anybody to vaccinate. If you don't want to vaccinate, that's your personal decision. But do not discourage another person. All right. All right. If you can guarantee that you can save that person's life, then open your mouth. But if you cannot save that other person's life, do not speak to them. This is an individual choice. And at the end of the day, everybody's responsible for saving their own life. Okay. So this whole conversation about the vaccine, as opposed to not taking the vaccine, let people judge from the testimonies, from the evidence. Everybody that's in hospital is dying or unvaccinated. Look at the evidence. People that are vaccinated, yes, they're contracting the virus. So you can't say, well, the vaccine don't make no sense. Say, yeah, but they're not getting the killing form of the virus. They're living. All right? And so that's the final and only word that I want people to hear. The vaccine saves lives. Get it. That's it. I don't want to dilute that at all. I want that to be the most important thing that they receive. Okay?
Doc, Grand Bahama is Grand Bahama is calling for you to set up an office in Grand Bahama.
You can always find me.
Yeah, no, because you do have patients in Grand Bahama anyways, because many of them.
I do.
Yeah. So guys, reach out to him. They thank you. I think it's Terry Ferguson that reposted that number. Thank you very, very much. Doc, I thank you. Go ahead. You do what you do, because obviously that's an emergency. You do what you do. This is Dr. Tyrone Butch Bartlett, and he is live with us. Boy, I hope everything is okay here. Okay, thank you. Well, Andy, thank you. That was good to get him off. Guys, listen, you heard Dr. Bartlett. He wrapped up a comment, and I thank you all. I thank you all so much. Share this. That's the most important thing right here. Share this. Get it to as many